All right, today we get a cool new chart that Bitbo just put out. It is called the Bitcoin Compound Annual Growth Rate chart. So what it is, it's going to be the 4-year running average for the Bitcoin CAGR. And so what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at this. They just released this. It's really cool. And what I want to do is compare Bitcoin's performance relative to the benchmark, the S&P 500, and then we're going to look at if these returns continue, what you can expect and the wealth you can potentially generate. Okay. All right. So let's do this. Let's take a look at this chart here. So what we're looking at is the that Bitcoin aggregator. So reason it starts in 2015 is it's taking the last 4 years and then aggregating that average. So yes, Bitcoin started in 2009. Really, a full year started in 2010. So that's why we're around this range. And Bitcoin traded at kind of nothing for a period of time. So the chart starts here, and what you can see, some people might say, whoa, this green 4-year CAGR is really on a downtrend. And you can argue, yeah, it is, but this is when it's called like crazy early adoption, right? And we're starting to get into I would call early adopters, and then we're get into like typical folks, and then laggards at some point. So we do expect this to go down. The orange mark is the current price. You can see that, hey, the friend's your trend. Well, it keeps going up, right? There's peaks, there's valleys, but at the end of the day, pretty steady march upwards. Okay, so the crazy part is, can you really expect to have a CAGR, compound annual growth rate, at 400% forever? No, you can't. All right. So right around where Bitcoin started to get much more mainstream here, right? I would say around 2017 is when like the early I mean, everybody before here was super early. 2017 is when we become a little more mainstream. You could argue 2013, but we're going to go 2017. And you can see here, we are dancing between a range of over 100%, right? You can see that's just wild, okay? And unbelievable, all right? And again, this is over the 4 years. So if we keep following this path, even to 2020, I mean, look at these things. Just unbelievable, the 4-year. And again, what we've always talked about is the 4-year Bitcoin cycle. If you're going to get in, some people trade it, cool, great. That's not what we're talking about. If you're going to hold Bitcoin, everybody talks about holding it forever. Things can happen. At the end of the day, when you invest, go in with the mindset that you're going to invest for at least 4 years to get a full cycle, because you can see here, it's never dropped below zero. That's for sure. Over holding it for 4 years, it's never gone to zero. So let's go with more recently, right? Looking at 2022, you can see this new kind of average, and we're actually moving up again, right? Because we're getting back into a peak cycle here. But why don't we take a look at right here? This is the time frame that Bitcoin was really struggling the most. You can see around 16,000. This is when the FTX stuff came out, and we were in the bear market, okay? So let's go and take a look at this. I mean, we're operating between 35, 40, 32, 30. I mean, that's unbelievable, okay? So now let's take a look at, because there's going to be a lag between this price and then the CAGR, right? So if we go to the worst case scenario, let's go to the lowest compounding annual growth rate. I'm seeing about 25%, right? And we've got all this different range. Now let's see here. What is this? Can we grab it? It doesn't want to fully grab it, but you get the gist. Well, let's just call it 25%, okay? So then the question goes, all right, if the floor has been 25%, all right, what does that compare to the S&P 500? Okay, so what we do is we're going to go to the S&P 500, and I just had Claude run some data, Claude AI, and says the S&P 500's CAGR from 2009 to 2014. So 2024. So I did it. Actually, let's do this. Let's do 2015. Let's make it this fair to 2024, and let's see what it kicks out. Okay, because we do want to compare apples to apples with the 2015 data. All right, so let's kick it out. Let's see what it says. All right, so actually, the CAGR from 2015 to 2024. Now, again, this isn't the same as this chart, right? Because this is the running numbers, where you can grab it at any point in time, but you still get the gist, right? I mean, if we go all the way out, this is your comparables, 44%. All right, you know what I mean? 44% relative to about 10% from the stock market. All right, so 10% is a good return, right? Well, at least that's what historically has been a solid return. So let's go like this. We're actually going to play a game. We're going to go, all right, 20 years out. So we've got this future value calculator, right? So 20 years, let's say you put 10 grand in at 10% compound annual growth rate over 20 years, it's 67%. All right, I'm sorry, $67,000, okay? So good return. Now you might say, all right, well, what is Bitcoin doing? And let's take worst case scenario. All right, so we're gonna go worst case scenario so far over that 4-year holding period. And I'm just gonna throw here, I actually saw one, 24.3. Let's throw in, let's go at 24%, okay? So again, this is a conservative number based on the historicals, 24%. 730, these aren't small increments. These percentages add up dramatically in your return over a period of time. Okay, so we went from $67,000 to $740,000. That's unbelievable. That's what, 12x? I don't know. Return. So even if Bitcoin is on, continues to go down, and you can see here we're actually up. I mean, we're back in the 50s over here. But let's just say one thing Michael Saylor has said is that you're going to have let's say it's at 44%, then 40%, 36%, 32%, and it kind of gradually keeps going down. And he's saying, I believe he put out the number of 29% over the next 21 years. Okay, so let's go here. So let's play around with this. So 21 years, let's just say you put 10 grand in, okay, at 29% compound annual growth rate. What does that come out to? $2.1 million. I mean, that's life-changing right there, right? Now, let's go ahead and let's tailor this down to, let's just say conservatively, it hasn't gone below 24, but let's say it gradually goes down over time, and let's just say it's at 20%. Now we're just kind of doing hypotheticals, right? Now we're gonna say 20% return. Still $460,000. I mean, that's unbelievable. Now, this is kind of eye-opening, right? Because your hurdle rate, let's say like that's the 10%. This is outrunning it dramatically, right? Even with these conservative numbers, because we had the 67, now we got the 460. This is just a fun one to play around with, right? It doesn't. I wouldn't say it has as much predictive characteristics to it, but it's a good historical look back, and it should give you confidence that yes, Bitcoin is outperforming every other asset out there, because over a 4-year period, these are pretty impressive numbers. Let's do this. I don't even know what the answer to this is, but let's just look at the last 4 years, 2020 to 2024 S&P 500. Let's take a look at that. All right, we're back at 10%, right? So like I said, the S&P 500 is operating right around that 10%. So any hurdle rate above that, you're outperforming what I would argue is the benchmark for a comparable investment, and we're operating at 2.5x that as the floor. So go ahead, give this a check. The Bitcoin compound annual growth. I can't even talk. Rate measure, the CAGR. They got some formulas down there for you. Pretty cool stuff. The gist of it is, Bitcoin historically is probably the greatest asset out there, and if it continues on this track, it is probably one of the best ways to get wealthy going forward. And your whole goal is just don't sell. That's the strategy. Buy it and just don't sell it. There you go. Like and subscribe, and enjoy.